Welcome to part 3 of our 6-part series on building your financial foundation from the ground up. In part 1, we talked about why the foundation is so critical to building wealth. And then in part 2, we talked about how high interest debt steals from your ability to build that wealth. Today, in part 3, we'll be tackling the next step in the Factora financial framework, which you can download from the podcast episode summary. And that is values-based spending and how it aligns you with your ability to build wealth. So let's dive in, shall we? When it comes to spending money, women are served a lot of mixed messages. We are often told that our number one financial priority should be to spend less. We're told to cut down on our online shopping and never step foot into a coffee shop for fear of buying a $6 matcha latte, and that is going to steal from our wealth. That's called the latte factor, and it is ridiculous. I am so sick of people telling women that if they just stop buying expensive coffee, they'll be a lot better off. No, that's not how it works. We are told to feel guilty when we spend money, and that is not productive. But at the same time, we are inundated with ads pushing us to spend our hard-earned money more and more and more. And that is because women make up more than half the US population and are responsible for 85% of the consumer spending. So product advertisers direct their marketing messages towards us. On top of that, the fact that we have marketing's arrow on our back trying to get us to spend money left, right, and center, and that we are told that we shouldn't be spending money as much as we do to begin with, that we've got consumerism problems. On top of all that, we're also told that we're not good enough with money to focus beyond spending. When you look at financial marketing, you'll notice that men are served messages to grow their wealth, to invest their money, whereas women are served messages to spend their money, buy. But then we're also given that signal that we should spend less and feel guilty and not be such heavy consumers, even though we are making the majority of the consumer purchasing decisions for our households. So it's a total vortex that we get lost in easily. And these marketing messages are really important to think about because I've actually done a side-by-side comparison with my husband's email inbox, and it's really wild to see Vanguard and Fidelity and these different financial services getting into his inbox and telling him to invest and build wealth for his future children and family. Whereas I got Glossier and all of these products sliding into my inbox telling me to spend money now to fit in with an Instagram society. So this is really intense, right? What women are dealing with. A lot of mixed messages. And it's why at Factora, we teach women how to create a values-based spending system, because budgeting, in my opinion, and I've seen it time and time again, does not work. Budgeting is like dieting. It's restrictive. Maybe you can do it for a little bit, but then there's this binge bust mentality that doesn't feel good. And you get back into that guilt cycle and you just spin yourself out. So at Factora, we teach women how to create this values-based spending system so that you can spend your money on whatever you want guilt-free, while also prioritizing your money towards the really important components of saving and investing for your future, which is what allows you to build real wealth. So these things don't have to be at odds. They have to be considered, and it's why we have this values-based approach so that you don't ever have to worry about budgeting and then feeling guilty if you overspend and not getting your money prioritized towards your savings or investments in the first place. So If you've ever looked at your credit card statement at the end of the month and asked, how could you have possibly spent that much money? Don't worry, you're not alone. We have all been there. I just talked about how this push to spend money comes at us from so many angles all day, every day. We get on Instagram, it's there. We get on TikTok, there's more ads. And man, are they good at separating you from your hard-earned dollars, right? Like Amazon's one click to purchase that bypasses even a cart process is wild. And that's where we are today. So don't feel bad if you've been there. We all have. But I want you to recognize this, that every time you spend money, you are making a choice with those dollars. So spending money here might mean you can't spend money there. And so if you're spending money on something, it also means that you can't save or invest that money elsewhere. So part of being able to make easier choices with what to do with your money and how your dollars flow after they come towards you from your income is why you really need to understand your values. And so many people get tripped up here because they think money management is all spreadsheets and numbers and crunching and calculators, and that figuring out your values is squishy and woo-woo and not important. But let me tell you, it is just the opposite. And here's why. Having defined values helps you streamline your financial decision making. And we make financial decisions all day long. Whether we're buying lunch in or out, whether we are increasing our 401k contributions this quarter, whether we want to switch our dog's food to the more expensive organic brand, everything we do pretty much has a financial component to it because it costs money to live life. So if we're making these financial decisions all day long, you know we're making them all lifelong, right? Because those are just the daily things. What about when to get life insurance, how much to get, whether you want kids and how many you want, what kind of life do you want to lead, where do you want to travel? You catch my drift. Like, money isn't going away, so it's better to figure out how to create smart systems for your money. And this is where having a clear set of values in place can act like a filter for whatever decisions you need to make. I love to say you can have anything, but not everything, especially not all at once. So having this values-based approach acts as your easy to remember trade-off system. For example, here are 3 of my personal values that I always consider when making a financial move. G-Unit. That's literally the code name for my family because our last name starts with a G and we are a unit. Leverage, meaning how can I leverage someone else's time and skills better than my own? And mens sana corpore sano, which means healthy mind and a healthy body. So, that just goes to show you that your values don't have to be health and vitality. They can be, but they can also be whatever words you come up with that mean something really significant to you and are easy to remember. So I can go to make a decision. Recently, I've been tasked with figuring out childcare for our family, and I can run it through what works for G-Unit, includes leverage, and gives me healthy peace of mind, right? And so when I'm picking out how much we want to spend, what kind of childcare we want to have, I'm using all of these values so that I know that when I make my decision in the end, I'm going to feel really confident and clear because it comes back to you and your life. And that's what your wealth is all about facilitating in the first place. So if a purchase aligns with my values, I go ahead and spend on it guilt-free. If a purchase doesn't align with my values, it helps me reprioritize that money that I was going to spend towards my savings or investments, which I already have clear goals for. I already have investment or savings account set up for, and I can get that money over there instead of just spending it on something I don't really care about in the first place. And that's why it's so much easier to use than budgets, right? Because budgets, you've all gone and done the app. Maybe you had mint.com or Personal Capital. I've trialed them all. And you say, oh, I only want to spend X amount in Y category this month. And the moment you're over your groceries bill or your entertainment bill, you're mad at yourself and you're getting flustered and frustrated, and you give up on the budget not so long after you started it. Imagine instead coming up with just 3 to 5 values that are so significant to you that you can just run through them in your head before you make a decision. So, okay, I know this all sounds really good in theory, but how do you get to these values if you don't already know them? Well, check out the show notes, because we're also going to include a video exercise from our team that helps you discover them. And once you've done this, it's about a 10-minute exercise. It's really simple to then implement this new values-based spending system. First thing you do is you write down the values you came up with and put them somewhere you can see daily. Maybe put them on your computer, maybe put them on your fridge, maybe put them on your phone screen, maybe put them in all 3 places, right? If you really want to get good at this. Next thing you'll do is you'll review your expenses from the last 3 to 6 months. So this is the annoying part, right? You should get on your computer, print out your credit card statements, print out your bank statement, and literally go line by line for the last 3 to 6 months at a minimum, and ask yourself if these spending habits align with your values, because you are suddenly going to see categories standing out that don't, right? So if, your values do align with having really quality self-care, and you're doing the monthly nail salon and the matcha drink meetups with an investee bestie, then keep doing that, because you enjoy that and it fits your value set. But if something else you're doing doesn't, then cut that out. Maybe you're ordering in food too much and really you don't want to be doing that. You feel gross afterwards. It doesn't fit your value set. Then now you know what you can resist in the future, and you can make that choice a lot more clearly. So you'll go through these expenses. For the yeses, keep spending. For the nos, how can you cut or reduce spending in this category so that you have more money to repurpose to your bigger goals? And the last step is to apply your values-based spending plan to anything you buy in the future. Now, you've just looked historically and you've done a run through, but how can you make sure that you're considering this when you make those decisions moving forward? So maybe there's a subscription you're considering. Does it align with your values or does it not? And then come back and check in on your spending habits regularly. If you feel like you're in sync for a while, then keep going. And the moment you feel like you come out of alignment and some of your spending is no longer matching those values you came up with, just go back, do this again, make the adjustments that are needed. So I hope that was helpful. This is how so many Factora women have been able to increase their income and not increase their spending. So when they do have additional income coming in and they know it's their choice how they're going to spend that money, they have their values filter there, and anything that they are not spending on with excitement and guilt-free, they reprioritize that money to their bigger goals, which we will talk about in a future episode. So I hope that was helpful. And next week, we're going to cover how to fill your emergency fund so that you can protect your wealth and the ability to grow it. If you enjoyed this episode, come join us in a Wealth Circle. It's our live, online, 12-week course and community where we teach you how to create a personalized financial plan alongside hundreds of other women building wealth. It will change your life and your money for good. You can apply at factorawealth.com/wealth circle. That's factorawealth.com/wealth circle. See you in the next episode.